you can make it, but you can't distribute it. So it became a big battle over money, and ultimately they settled it. And what they settled on was, all right, we're going to split the profits, but MGM pays half and New Line pays half, and we split the money on this, and we all make a ton of cash. And so MGM's like, that sounds great. So they shake hands, they sign the documents, and then MGM goes, oh yeah, by the way, we're bankrupt. We have no money whatsoever, and we can't afford to make this film, so we have to wait until we sell our company, and whoever buys our company can go ahead and make The Hobbit. Oh, by the way, would you like to buy our company? Then you can have all the Hobbit money for yourself. It was one of the most retarded things I've ever seen, and nobody wants to buy MGM. So as a result, The Hobbit has sat languishing without the funding that it was promised by MGM, and Guillermo del Toro has a number of contracts pending of other films that he is obligated to work on or make. And he needs to meet those obligations, and he can no longer sit around. He was supposed to start shooting last summer. That was the other thing that they couldn't settle on a schedule too. That's one of the things they said. Like they just taking because they don't have the money. They don't know when they're going to start shooting, which is they can't settle on a schedule. Because how long can you really stay here? So he's literally sitting there indefinitely doing pre-production work and doing all this stuff on a film, and he doesn't know if it's ever going to get around to getting made.
There's a paragraph here where it said like the walls started to crumble for Del Toro in recent weeks as the uncertain future of MGM put the project, which was to have been 2 movies, it put it in limbo. So the producers had been hoping to be in production by this summer, but no green light was forthcoming. And like you, I know that he has a lot of movies that he wants to do, and why he's got some contracts at Universal that he must meet within a certain amount of time, or else they can sue him. And that's something that happens on a regular basis. We don't really talk about it. It doesn't get talked about in the news because it's really kind of ugly business. But directors have to often attach themselves to 4 or 5 films at a time. And sometimes they'll be attached to something that is never going to happen, and then they get attached to something else, and then a studio will up and say, hey, you're still attached on this contract, and we want to make it all of a sudden, so we're suing you if you don't come and make it. And then it becomes a money settlement, and they get money for a movie they never made. And it's an ugly, dirty little side part of the business. And that's something that Guillermo cannot afford to deal with right now. He cannot have a studio suing him for not showing up for movies when he would love to make them, because these are projects he really loves. Because he's sitting around waiting on this. Is he going to do that? What's it called? Saturn something? The one with the apocalyptic movie?
Saturn at the End of the World?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on his list of stuff he wants to do, and that's on the list of stuff he's supposed to do.
Yeah, it sounds. If you haven't heard about this, it sounds interesting. It's a little kid. It's the apocalypse shown through the eyes of a little kid as he's walking around during the last days of the world. I believe that's what it is. If you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's well, you've actually heard him talk about it. So I've only heard from you and from other people that were at that discussion. And I've heard from Harry, who knows a lot more about it, that it just sounds absolutely awesome, and everything he knows about it sounds great. So I'm all aboard. And you know what? I gotta say, that's why I'm sad. I'm sad that he's not going to be on it anymore, because I want to see that. Why am I happy? Because it means we're going to get Guillermo del Toro films again, which is something that has been sorely lacking, as he's been sitting around twiddling his thumbs, waiting on The Hobbit. What makes me interested is that one of the things that was talked about, Drew McWeeny posited this online tonight, that there's a certain director out there whose last 2 films have taken serious critical hits and underperformed at the box office, and if he wants to keep his seat at the table, he needs a big hit. And his name is Peter Jackson. So if Peter Jackson wants to pull out of the tailspin that he's in after King Kong and The Lovely Bones, a Peter Jackson directed Hobbit movie would guarantee $1 billion worldwide take. And that he's already been attached, he's already been working on it the whole time, and he knows how to do it. All he has to do is step in and direct it. And while he wasn't going to do it before, he's probably having a hard time getting other projects off the ground, because everybody's going, yeah, everything you've done that isn't called Lord of the Rings hasn't exactly succeeded. So, what he needs to do is go and do another, Lord of the Rings film. And frankly, that's what we all want to see. As much as we all want to see a Del Toro Hobbit. The only thing we want to see more than that is a Peter Jackson Hobbit.
Yeah,
And
I was really hoping Guillermo del Toro would work on it though, because I mean his vision I think suits like that Tolkien universe so well, and I don't know.
But as Harry has been commenting for the last year and a half, as much as a Hobbit sounds awesome, he was contracted to do 2 films, and nobody knows what that second film was going to be anything like, because there's no cohesive story. The idea was to link The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, and that requires going into the Silmarillion, but there's no actual stories in the Silmarillion. It's so boring. It's a history book on a world that never existed, and it's really tough to get through. I mean, I'm sure several of you geeks out there have also done what I've done and tried to sit through it.
Put it in the movie.
Ooh, what?
Don't put it in a movie.
Well, but what else is it going to be? And
it's going to be. That's what I liked about The Hobbit, is that it's a much simpler story. It's a tale that like the
no,
title
I'm talking about the second film, because The Hobbit is the first film.
No, I thought that they were talking about splitting The Hobbit itself up into 2 movies.
They changed their mind. No, because that everyone was fine with. Splitting into 2 movies, there's a perfect delineation point halfway through the book that makes it perfect to split the 2 stories, and that is not what they were talking about here. They were like, no, we're going to do The Hobbit in all one movie, and then the next movie will be bridging the 2 other movies together.
Right.
Yeah, no, because that's where the big question mark was. And
they just need to leave this shit alone. Just not direct anything.
I agree. If they want 2 movies, split it up. If not, then give us 1 movie. Unless they've got a really great idea, but nobody's talked about a really great idea. And it's had a lot of us nervous. So I'm, you know what? I really want to see it. Please, God, let Peter Jackson come in and direct this and say, I'm the only one who can do this. I am going to direct this. Awesome. That's what I want to see.
I'm tired of holding my breath for The Hobbit, whatever. The Hobbit, whatever you want to call it.
I will never be tired of holding my breath for The Hobbit. I am totally fine.
I'll tell you why. Because I can always go back and watch the Rankin Bass cartoon, which I love anyway. So that is up to date. My favorite Tolkien rendition right there. So.
Well, that's the MGM movie that fucked us all.
Well, no, I know that was because you can get it under the MGM title on DVD. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, man.
Speaking of MGM titles, just to.
Yes, sir.
And I cannot remember the name right now of who did it, but one of you Spilios out there sent me The Apple on DVD, and I want to thank you and personally say fuck you for doing so. For those of you who have not seen The Apple, it is a mind-bending 1980 terrible science fiction musical that really wants to be the Rocky Horror Picture Show and fails miserably. And if you love really, really terrible films, I'm going to lend this to you, Corey. You're going to watch this thing.
You're going to make me watch it.
Well, no. I'm going to show you the cover of this movie and tell you what it's about, and you're going to go home and watch it immediately.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So I guess you're not going to tell me right now, because if you tell me while I'm standing in front of you, then it's going to be like...
I'll tell you now.
I got it. Yeah,
really
please.
Not much to tell you except that it's a science fiction musical about musicians who a musical group that gets split up because one of them doesn't want to sign with this guy who may or may not be the devil. The girl does, the guy doesn't, and then the guy, becomes destitute and tries to win back his girlfriend while his girlfriend is off living the life with all these 70s crazed disco folk of the future.
It sounds like that kind of crazy shit that I like.
It's exactly the crazy shit you like. Me and my wife were watching it, and I'm like, wait, this was what 1994 was supposed to look like? And my wife was just like, yeah, at least they got Lady Gaga right.
And that's like...
you're going to dig this shit. It's fucking retarded, but in the best way. So thank you, sir. I'm blanking on your name. Please mention it in the comment section so I can remember, but thank you. It was awesomely terrible.
Yeah,
so he sent me
savings on to me.
He sent me that and Little Hercules, so watching Little Hercules is now next.
Cool. Well, look at these generous Spilios out there.
Oh, great Spilios. Love you people. So let's, what do you mean, you people? Let's quickly hit the final news story.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows by this point Dennis Hopper has died, along with Gary Coleman. Everybody's talking about how people go in threes, but if you think about it, we've had a lot of musicians and actors died. Dennis Hopper, Gary Coleman,
Art Linkletter.
Art Linkletter?
Yeah, the famous game show host, 60s and 70s.
When?
Thursday. I want to say it's Thursday. Yeah, it was this week.
Wow.
He just died. And then, of course, we lost Ronnie James Dio
Dios.
last week.
Yeah, Lena Horne, and like I said, right before that, anybody who's into hip hop knows that Guru died. So we had a lot of people pass right now. So
Patton Oswalt famously remarked this week, a lot of confused angels right now, not exactly sure how to deal with this. So can you imagine what the waiting room in heaven is like right now? Really?
Yeah, I can imagine. The waiting room is
stop it with that catchphrase. It's the one thing I got. Sorry, man.
No, the waiting room is where the party is what I'm thinking right now. So if there's
Ronnie James Dio is playing music.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper's telling everybody to go fuck themselves.
Yeah, that's funny about Dennis Hopper. I was reading a little bit up on him right after he died, and because he's actually in a movie that everybody overlooks that I love, which is Giant, one of his earliest films.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, he's in a couple of those films back then.
Yeah.
Someone else was joking about the fact that that Dennis Hopper was the latest person to die from the famous Rebel Without a Cause curse.
Well, that's the thing, man. He wanted to be James Dean, and he wanted to be James Dean so bad. I think that's his first movie, Rebel Without a Cause, and I think Giant is his third. I don't even know what his second movie is, but he wanted to be James Dean so bad that he became like a nightmare to work with. He had too much attitude.
Yeah, he was kind of crazy. I loved listening to George Romero talk about working with him. And talking about how hard it was to work with him, and that he's a bit of a diva, but at the same time, he'd be sitting there on set, and he'd be okay, action, and Dennis Hopper would go line, and at which point George Romero would say the line is no.
What? Oh, Jesus.
He couldn't remember one word lines. Like he was. He was sick for a long time, and I gotta wonder how much of it, when you do drugs for that long of your life and for that often, not everything's gonna fire once you get into your 70s.
Yeah, man, he went through just from 2 movies alone, where he directed Easy Rider, which he was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. One was for like later on in life for Hoosiers, where he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but he got nominated for Best Original Screenplay. For Easy Rider, actually won that for Best New Work at the Cannes Film Festival. So, but between Easy Rider and Apocalypse Now, you could tell the kind of drug culture that guy was hanging around with. He just loved to party, hanging around with Jack Nicholson most of the time, which I think that was a good buddy of his. Would fuck you up just right there alone. So, yeah, I imagine he was very drug addled later on in life, but yeah, he became one of our best known actors out there, mainly I guess because of some of the freaky stuff that he played. The same year that he won for Hoosiers, he was also nominated. I mean, when he was nominated for Hoosiers, he was also nominated, I think, in the Golden Globe category for Blue Velvet. You remember that crazy role he played in that? Oh,
of course I do. He was great in that movie. In fact, that's my favorite Dennis Hopper performance. I think he's really great in that movie. He was a great actor. He was really fantastic. Although I have to side with several of my friends. My favorite Dennis Hopper moment of all time has to be from the Quentin Tarantino scripted, Tony Scott directed True Romance, where he and Christopher Walken are in the same scene together, and one is interrogating the other, and that scene is just magical.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love that scene, and that's when I think of Dennis Hopper, I always think of that scene first. I think he and Walken together are just so incredible, and with Tarantino dialogue and Tony Scott direction, that it is everything that boiled down is everything Carlyle loves about movies, and it was just so perfect.
Yeah, he did a lot of memorable roles, man. Like I think my favorite performance of his is when he got his head knocked off in Speed. You remember him being such a cool villain? He's one of the few people that actually made Speed like really cool. Besides the action, it's like wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, but there's one of my favorite episodes of Muppets Tonight, which was rebooted in the 90s. The Muppet Show rebooted.
Yeah.
There's a great episode in which Sandra Bullock stars, and a Dennis Hopper Muppet. Yeah, they make a Dennis Hopper Muppet that calls into the station and threatens to blow up the station if the ratings drop below 50. And so they have to do crazier and crazier stunts to keep people watching the show. and it's absolutely hilarious. But they do the greatest impression of him with a Muppet, and it's just so much fun. If you can track down the Muppets Tonight episode, do so, because it's actually one of my favorite Muppet episodes ever. It's just a really fantastic episode.
Cool. I have to watch that. Oh, you know what? I also have to mention, because I know somebody's going to like say this like I don't know it because they know I'm a big fan of Gorillaz. I am kicking myself for not going to the Gorillaz show that they did for Demon Days, because that's one of Dennis Hopper's last things. Amongst all the bazillion documentaries that he did before he died, where he was narrating in them or featuring in them, he actually read through a song, Fire from the Monkey's Head or something like that, for Gorillaz, and he actually performed that in during a few shows in, I think for sure, in New York and in London. I'm really kicking myself now for not doing that because, well, Dennis Hopper's dead. But yeah, man, a lot of people going. I'm wondering, you know what? Before we get out of here, this is going to be morbid, but who do you think is next?
I have no idea. If I could pick, I'd say Lindsay Lohan, but
if you had a choice.
I had a choice. But yeah, no, I have no idea. None whatsoever. I don't think there's going to be a third. I think this is just a big, huge culling. I think it's like, all right, let's just get rid of the people that aren't really doing much anymore.
Yeah, I always have to like think about somebody that I really enjoy, and I think back fondly, and I know that you haven't seen them in a while, and they were from some show that I used to love, and that person right now would probably be Sherman Hemsley from the Jeffersons. You know, Weeze is already dead.
No. Yeah, but it's not going to be him next. You can only knock out one 80s black comedian at a time.
And we already filled that quota.
You know Emmanuel Lewis is sitting there going, fuck, he got to go first. Why do I always have to be second to that guy?
Well, at least he knows he's safe for now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There could be a tragic, bus accident and take out the whole cast of 227.
What? Like they would all be riding a bus together? The 227
tour. There could be a reunion show somewhere. It's the Gorillaz featuring the cast of 227, and then he just, all of a sudden a busload of drunk nuns comes out of nowhere and cleans them out.
It just takes out the whole cast. And you know what? Sherman Hemsley would be on that bus.
Exactly, and that would be how he goes.
All right, well, let's pray that doesn't happen.
I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but I'm also not gonna say it's not gonna happen, because I'm gonna take the Corey route on this one, because anything can happen.
Anything can happen. All right, people. Good night. Oh, wait a minute. I guess, you know what? We've had a long show. Do you want to?
You know what? I put out a call for questions. If I don't ask a question, people are going to lose their minds. So.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Excuse me for jumping the gun. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's okay. Hey, I'm fine with doing it a little longer tonight. It's all good.
All right.
Hey, somebody asked, and this is a quick question, whatever happened to the Best of the Decade podcast?
That's a good question. Don't have an answer. We didn't do it yet. Hey, you know what? It's the decade. We can go and do that any other time. We just got really busy. Things started happening.
No, we recorded a Best of the Decade, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
no, we never even recorded.
What happened? We never recorded it. That's what happened. Sorry.
Yeah,
I thought we recorded one.
By the way, Carla, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad that you support the brothers in their choice to be Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I like that.
Well, I mean, it literally, like I said, when it comes to Glover, had anyone just said Black Spider-Man beforehand, I would have given all the reasons you gave. But the minute you mention him, I would buy him. He's one of the few guys, I think, that is an ethnicity other than white that instantly make me think, hey, I would buy that guy as Spider-Man. He's already muscular, so he could do the Spider-Man thing, but they could dress him down to make him nerdy. We've seen him nerdy. He can play nerdy really well. He can play smart really well. But he can also deliver. He's got incredible comic timing, and I think he's got everything that Spider-Man needs to work. And I think all it would take is a 5-minute short of him as Spider-Man, and everyone would go see a movie. I think if you do a short film, like remember the commercials they did back in early 2001 for the upcoming Spider-Man film, where it was 4 short Spider-Man movies, where it was just they were trailers that had nothing to do with the film, and one of them had to get pulled. They recalled a whole mess of DVDs and VHS tapes because it included a shot of Spider-Man webbing between the two towers and a helicopter slamming into.
Yeah, I remember that. That was actually pretty cool.
Webbing. Yeah, they had to pull that because the two towers had just crumbled, had just been attacked and fallen a week before those DVDs came out. So it's if they did something like that with him, I think people would buy it. I think they would look at it, they'd watch it and go, this isn't going to work, and for 5 minutes watch it and then be, oh man, yeah,
hey,
no, that
I hear you. I'm gonna be the guy that says I don't want to see it. I'm gonna be the crab in the bucket. I know, hey, I hate black people, whatever. You can say that, whatever, but I just don't see it.
Corey Coleman doesn't like black people.
At least Black Spider-Man. So anyway, man, you got a tweet?
Yeah. Let's go with Ryan Quarterman, who asked, "Do you think Kick-Ass will get a sequel? I hope so, but it was kind of a disappointment. Is there any real chance of it? Do you think?" And he tweeted later that talking about box office disappointment.
Real simply, I don't think it made the money that they wanted it to, and plus it was such a personal project of the director at the time that I don't think it'll get a sequel, and not anytime soon.
I think it will get a sequel, actually. The thing that's important to note about that Kick-Ass is a special case. Kick-Ass was really well loved by geekdom. It's really going to be well supported on DVD. It's going to be around for years. It's going to be one of those films that just resonates with a certain audience and will definitely profit overall. The important thing to remember about this film is that Vaughn, the director,
Matthew Vaughn,
he owns completely the rights to Kick-Ass. And on top of that, Matthew Vaughn is incredibly wealthy. He comes from money. He has his own money. He made this movie with his own money.
Yeah.
He did not get investors. He made it with his own money. It was his to lose and to do anything with. And so he made his money back by selling it to Lionsgate, and the deal was that they just bought this one. He still retains all the rights. So he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to answer to a studio, and if he wants to take his money and do it, he can. And the important thing to keep in mind is that the only way he's going to do it is if he's got the story.
See, that's the other thing that I think, because I went through my mind too, because I know for a while he was describing this as his his most expensive home movie and whatnot, and I thought like, yeah, he could go off and do another one, but it's going to be since it didn't do the money that they did before. I mean, not that before that they wanted it to initially. I think that it's one of those films where it ends with like the promise of a sequel, and they don't want to make a sequel, and to pitch that to the studios again, and the way he did it, they're going to be like, no, we don't want to go out on that venture anymore. Now, maybe if you want to go to DVD or straight to Blu-ray, DVD, or whatever, then you could probably do that.
I have a feeling that this is going to be a Bad Boys situation. Because keep in mind, Bad Boys only made $50 million in the theater. It was not a huge hit. But once it went to video and once it went to cable, people loved the hell out of it. And they spent $150 million to make a sequel to a $50 million film that ended up making a shit ton of cash.
Here's the deal, though. Unless there's some really big major breakout star with Kick-Ass, I don't think that's going to be the case with Kick-Ass, because with Bad Boys,
Chloe Moritz.
Yeah, I don't think she's no Will Smith. Like Will Smith was the person that they probably made that sequel for, because Will Smith became one of the biggest. Like his star was continuing to rise, and
everybody knew who Michael Bay was.
Everybody knew who Michael Bay. There's so many names that were continuing to rise with that. Even Martin Lawrence. So everybody said, yeah, this is a no-brainer to make a sequel just based on that first movie. Just tease people. They introduce these characters. All these people are bigger now. Yeah, we can make a sequel.
I'm telling you that if he wants to make it, he'll make it, and if Lionsgate passes, he'll take it to another company that will profit share with him, and because he can afford to lose the money, but he knows he's going to make it back. And I think that once people see it on DVD, once people realize what it is, if he wants to make one, Millar really wants to make one. The writer, he really wants. He wants to make another one. He's game. So I think if they've got a great idea, and I think if Vaughn is interested, there's nothing that's going to stop him. Vaughn is brilliant, and he's going to do what he wants to do. So do I think there'll be one? I would bet yes.
Okay. I'm going to bet no then. Like I said, at least not anytime soon, and not straight and not theatrically. So that's going to be my thing. You say yes.
You say yes.
and
no.
I say no.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, do you have a question for us, or do you want to call it a night?
I guess I could read one here.
Go ahead and read one real quick.
From a guy named Rockefeller Skank.
Rockefeller Skank.
Yes.
Funk Soul Brother.
Not just a song anymore. He's also a Spill member who writes questions. He says, hello. I guess he's from Jolly Old England. And he says, do you think studios again will ever make 2D animation like they once did in the 90s? Or did it just die out and will no longer return to on the movie screen? Where were you when The Frog Princess came out? That's all I have to really say. They're probably not going to be coming out in the abundance that they did during the second golden age of animation that Disney presented with The Little Mermaid, and they went on to do Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and a few other films before it eventually sputtered out there because of 3D coming in and the movies. And frankly, the movies is kind of repeating the same formula for Disney. But I think that no, you're not going to see them die out. You're going to see them again. Everybody did the same thing when stop motion was around, and then all of a sudden Jurassic Park came up, and they said, "Oh, CG animation. This is incredible. It's so lifelike. It's no longer a need to do stop motion now. We can do everything with computers." And guess what? A movie came out called The Nightmare Before Christmas, and and then it was followed by James and the Giant Peach, and now we're up to stuff like what was that movie, Clementine, whatever, that came out recently, and you know which movie I'm talking about. You loved it. Hello? Damn. I guess he went away. Well, I guess it's good. Oh, wait a minute. Where were you? Hello?
Hello?
Can you not hear me?
Can you hear me?
Whoa,
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me at all?
I cannot. And I don't know why I said that, because you can't hear me now. Okay, then. Well, Coraline came out, and therefore we've had a lot of stop-motion movies that have came out. And I think that's going to be the same thing with 2D. Nothing really dies out, okay? It doesn't go extinct. The technology, I mean, the medium is still there. It doesn't cease to exist just because a new technology has been introduced. So, now that except unless you're Carlisle, which you totally ceased to exist after a while, apparently, because he just disappeared. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, are you there?
Good night, everybody. Hello?
Hey, he can't hear me, but in the words of my friend here whose computer is fucking up right now, I will say good night also. Good night, people.
Good night, everybody.